Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Tea Time at Unity on the Bay. My name is Jason Weeks. I'm a staff member here at Unity on the Bay, and usually I'm joined by Carmen Navedo, my co-host. However, she's having some technical difficulties, so we're going to wait for her to join in just a few moments. But in the meantime, good morning to everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Who out there is watching this morning? If you're just joining us, I am waiting for my co-host Carmen to join us. She was on here, and then technology took her away. So we're waiting for her to join again. Good morning, Claudia. Good morning, Dan. Good to see you. Where's everybody watching from this morning? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Again, we're waiting for Carmen to join, my co-host. She's having some technical difficulties. You know that happens with the internet. So good morning, everyone. This is Claudia is watching from Houston, Leslie from Miami Beach, Callie, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Good morning from Seattle. For real, good morning. What is it, like 6:30 over there? Dan from Kendall, good morning, good morning. So this is Tea Time. This is a program that Unity on the Bay puts on every once in a while, and really it's just a casual discussion about topics that we choose. So today's topic is, does God really love us? And that is a very sticky subject, I'd say. But before we get into it, good morning, Chris, good to see you. Before we get into that, we're just gonna wait for Carmen Navedo to join us. She's my co-host, and she was on here and then she dropped off. The internet decided to kick her off, so I am just killing time until she gets back on here. Otherwise, we're gonna have to tackle this subject alone. So while we wait, let me hear from everybody watching. What do you think about God's love for us? What are your thoughts around that? Do you think that God really loves us? Do you think it's a different kind of love than what humans express? Put it in the chat, because when Carmen gets on here, we'll be talking more about that, and I'd be interested to see what you have to say about that. I have a little frog in my throat this morning. And good morning, Dale. Mi gente. Hola, mi gente. So Carmen just texted me. She's restarting her computer. So hopefully she joins us shortly. While we wait, I'll give some birthday shout outs. Happy birthday to Martha Creek. She's a longtime friend and member of Unity on the Bay, and her birthday's today. Maybe some of you remember when she had come to visit us at Unity on the Bay. She's been with us many times. Thomas Gant, who is Reverend Juan's husband, his birthday's today, so shout out to him. And then, of course, Carmen, my co-host, her birthday was in December, so we'll wish her a happy birthday. Leslie says he has always and forever supernatural love for his children. That's my belief, Leslie. But I think it's all in the definition of love, right? And perhaps in our minds, we can't even comprehend that kind of love that God has for us. But we'll be talking about that more. All right, well, I guess we're going to dive in because Carmen is somewhere. So Carmen Navedo actually came up with this subject that she wanted to talk about today, and it was, does God really love us? And so I, in my research for this, decided to search in the Bible and see what the Bible says about love, right? That's a good place to start. So I found that excuse me, Corinthians 13:13 says, and now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. And then Colossians 3:14 says, and over all these virtues put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Oh, I think we got Carmen here. Hold on. You're back.
I am back.
Good morning. I
Good
wasn't
morning.
I wasn't sure if you're going to pop back on or not, so I kind of started. So good morning, good morning. So we had done some birthday shout outs, including you, because I know that your birthday was in December 29th, and we hadn't had tea time since then. So happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you.
And we also have a birthday coming up. Dale Stein, our own Dale Stein, I believe, is
Woo.
February 27th. And I know he's watching, so happy pre-birthday, Dale. So Carmen, tell us, why did you pick this subject? Does God really love us?
I picked it because it's as I'm trying to center myself in the picture. Okay. I picked it because this is a question that I asked myself, and so I wanted to hear what everybody had to say about it. And so I have a I wanted to start with this quote from Emily Cady, and somebody told us Angela and Cindy and Angelica are also on February 27th. Oh my God. At least they're not February 29th, because then his birthday is only every 4 years. I guess that's good and
That's
bad.
true. So you're going to read a quote by Emily Cady. Let me tell everyone who Emily Cady is. So Emily Cady is the author of a book called Lessons in Truth. And the Unity Movement actually commissioned her to write this book. And so it's basically Lessons in Truth. And I can't remember when it was written, maybe the early 1900s, or I have to check on that. But
I
anyway,
think
you're going to
so.
read the quote.
So, anyways, yes. So the quote. So it says, God is wisdom and intelligence. All the wisdom and intelligence that we see in the universe is God, is wisdom projected through a visible form. To educate, from educare, to lead forth, never means to force into from the outside, but always it means to draw out from within something already existing there. God, as infinite wisdom, lies within every human being, only waiting to be led forth into manifestation. This is true education. And so I just wanted to share and to invite all of us to share from that wisdom that we all have within, and to bring it forth. So Jason and I are not here to educate you. We are here to educate each other, like all of us together, including you out there, are here to educate us all as well, because it's basically we are inspiring each other to bring that wisdom that we have from within out. And so I wore my dress that has like little kisses on it, just as a reminder of um all the angels that we have around us supporting us and expressing that love of God. And so as we face this, to me this is like a big topic, and this is one of the big questions in my life. And it's one of those questions that I have asked God, really? This is how you love me?
That's
And so yes, so so that's why I picked this big topic.
And you make a good point, Carmen, because like, why would we even ask this question? Um, and it's because sometimes it's not obvious that God loves us, right? There's a lot of horrible things that happens in the world. There's a lot of tragic death. There's disease. There's people who are dying from starvation, and it's like, really, God loves us, like, really? And I think today, um, we're just exploring that. And the other question that lingers in my mind is, well, maybe we have we have a human idea of love, and then there's divine love, which we can talk about, but we might not even be able to fully comprehend, because that is a divine love that we can't experience as humans. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I
That was a very loaded question. I know there's a lot of.
I think that, and I think also we sometimes confuse conditional love with unconditional love. And so if I gave you this, then I expect you to give me that. And then that makes
Mhm.
it condition. It doesn't make it unconditional. And
Yeah.
there is and I meant to look this up. There's this quote from he's a Christian monk, but he's actually Indian. He passed away already. Can't think of his name.
Mhm.
But he basically says that unconditional love is the same as a flower, a rose offering its essence. Like a flower in a garden smells, and whoever passes by smells it. And the same way that a tree offers its shadow is for everyone that stands underneath it. So it's like that whole idea of unconditional love. And I think I know, like my inner knowing me tells me that's the how big God's love is. And
Mhm.
something else that Emily Cady and Sean Fillmore also mentions it is that God is not that God is omnipresent, it's that God is omnipresence itself. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like God is love, is the principle of love. It's not that God is loving, it's that God is love. So basically every expression of unconditional love that we share with each other, that's love. That's God expressing. Every time that
Mhm.
we're unconditional with each other, whether it's somebody we know or a stranger, that's God expressing. And so and being unconditionally loving can be challenging, and sometimes we want um we want people to love us the way that we want to be loved, and that may not be the way that people are ready to love us. So just having that unconditional acceptance that not everybody may be able to love us the way we love them or the way we would like to be loved by them. And so that can be challenging. And then we see all the craziness going on and all the pain, and we lose loved ones, people live and people die, and all of that is just kind of like, really, like this is love. So it's
Yeah.
also, I think, the definition that we have of love. So
Mhm. Well, as I was preparing to talk about this today, because yes, I wanted to prepare because it's a big subject. Sometimes I don't prepare because I just like to go with the flow. But what came to mind for me was Shakespeare's "Is it better to love and lose, or to never love at all?"
mm,
And so for me, you know, God created us from this place of love, knowing that there's going to be trials and tribulations, but it's worth it. The suffering and the hurt is worth the love that at least we get to experience. Does that make sense? So for me, the answer to Shakespeare's question is yes, it's better to love and lose. It's better to experience love, but still know that you're going to experience grief at times. The love is still worth it. I'm going to surprise you. I found a Alan Watts quote that I think is perfect for what you're talking about. Alan Watts, for anybody who doesn't know, is the great late English philosopher, which Carmen and I love. We actually did a tea time about it. But he says this about love. He says, "And love is an act of surrender to another person, total abandonment. I give myself to you. Take me. Do anything you like with me." Now, that's a very interesting quote, because when people get in a relationship that they say they're in love, I don't think they go into it with that sort of definition of love. They're not like, use me all, like they're still, right? I mean, what would we say to that if, like, what do we say to our friends who are like being used in a relationship? We're like, oh my God, that's not fair to you, blah, 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 blah. But according to Alan Watts, that's the definition of love. And you were saying that, like, a tree gives its shade to us unconditionally. It doesn't say, well, you're not worthy of that love. So do you think that that's God's love for us? Like, God is like, here I am, use me, there's no condition. Do you think that's how God loves us?
I think so, and I mean, I know Unity doesn't talk too much about Jesus being on the cross, but in a way, that's kind of like the ultimate sacrifice, right? Like that example of whichever way we interpret that, but even if we just interpret it as let's live life fearlessly, let's go forth, follow our heart regardless of the consequences. Here's my example. Um, to me, that's a huge example of unconditional love. So I was going to say there is this passage in the Bible, and I don't remember exactly where it is, but there's this passage in the Bible that um, Jesus is surrounded by the crowd. They are pissed off at him, and they're like trying to like throw him off over the ridge, and he just walks out of the crowd. Like he walks out. So to me, if a part of the Bible says that people were trying to kill him and he was able to walk away in the middle of a throng, and then he willingly allows himself to be put on the cross, then to me that demonstrates choice. And I think love in a relationship, at the beginning it's all like butterflies and birds and everything is perfect. And then when we start living with each other, I think because of our human nature, we just get in each other's nerves. They're like little things that when we see each other from far away is not the same thing, but when we have to leave each other, the fact that you left the cap of the toothpaste off and you never put it back on, or you like squeeze the toothpaste from the middle, or like, really, do you love me? Is this how you love me? And so like those little things. And so love is something that is not done once. It's something that is done over. It's a constant choice over and over and over again to it's kind of like not just till death do us part. It's not just
Yeah.
that one day when you promise to love each other. It doesn't work that way. You just don't say I love you once and then it's done. It's just something that you have to continue to demonstrate, to choose, to love, to forgive, to like all the misunderstandings. Just the fact that just this one word love means so many different things to so many of us. It's just just a misunderstanding of just the way we take things, or just like the cultures that we come from, or just the upbringing, or just it's just love is choice.
There's,
That's my new definition. Love is choice.
yeah, there's so much I could say about. I was just taking notes so I don't forget about it. There's so much that I would love to say about that. But before we do, there's some good comments that are happening in the chat section. One I want to highlight here, which I think is brilliant. Let's see, Claudia. I often liken God's love for us to an electrical current. I love this because number one, you can plug into it. But the other thing is like if you stick your finger in so you can plug a light into electric current, right? And what happens? The light turns on, but stick your finger in it and you get fried, right? And it's almost like, to me, that like God's love is so unconditional that it's like, it's that current. I don't know how else to say it. It's like that current, and it allows all things. That's what I want to say. God's love allows all things. And that's why I think we see in our experience of life the good, the bad, the ups, the downs. Like that's just part of an electric current, right?
And I will add something else to that, the electric switch. So the light can be on plugged in, but if you don't turn on the electric switch, the current is not going to flow through. And so God's love is right here and right now present for each one of us. But if we
Hmm.
have like a boundary, if we have a barrier, if we say no, love can only come from this person or in this way. I mean, we could be walking down the street and the palm tree can be giving us love. It's giving us
Hmm.
oxygen. That's one way of offering us love. It may be it may be waving in the wind, saying hello. That's love from the palm tree, and we're not accepting that. And as we receive um, God as being omnipresence, which means in everything, even in the space that is between us, this um, as part of the oneness, all of us we're together, even though there is a perceived distance between us. So even in the perceived space and time difference, for those of us that may not be watching at exactly the same time, there is still God within us. There is still we're still oneness. It's still omnipresence. So it's just that concept of allowing ourselves not just to be plugged in, because we can never be unplugged from God. It's just being able to switch that switch or lower down the barriers and lowering down the
Hmm.
shields.
And another thing, gosh, Claudia, this is brilliant. Like, if you know anything about electricity, there's ebbs and flows. That's how electricity happens. There's like the negative and the positive that's happening. And so we can see God's love as that, like the ride of life has its ups and downs. And I mean, imagine living a life that had only had ups. As human beings, I think we'd get pretty bored. Like there's literally people out there that have a life that you would consider are only ups, and they get bored. They're always looking for the next greatest thing for excitement. And ah, this is good. I like this. Good topic, Carmen. Um,
Good
there
morning,
was some,
Carmelo.
gosh, I'm going back to what you were saying about Jesus, and I know what I wanted to say. So let's take this back to the five unity principles, shall we? So the second principle, and I have them here. I want to read it exactly because I do a lot of paraphrasing with the principles. So the second principle is our essence is of God. Therefore, are inherently good. This God essence was fully expressed in Jesus the Christ. So now back to what you were saying, Carmen. If this was fully expressed in Jesus the Christ, then Jesus was living a life of divine love. And when he died on the cross for us, at Unity, we interpret the Bible metaphysically. So, this, it may not have happened, but it's like the ultimate surrender. It goes back to Alan Watts' definition of love. It's like the ultimate surrender for somebody else. And that's like divine love. It all coming together. The principles, Alan Watts, Claudia, Carmen.
Jason,
This
I
is
I I want to speak um to the Alan Watts quote of
do
um
you want me to read it again?
yes.
Okay. Alan Watts says, and love is an act of surrender to another person, total abandonment. I give myself to you. Take me. Do anything you like with me.
Right. And so the
Mm,
big caveat is we are not saying to stay in an abusive relationship, and we're not saying
mm,
to stay in a dangerous relationship.
mhm.
This is far from that point that we're trying to make. And Jesus Christ was crucified once. We don't need to be crucified. Um, so just I just wanted to make that clear. Um,
Mhm.
we can love someone from a distance. Just because we're not with somebody in a relationship, it doesn't mean that we have to stop loving them. We can still love them, but sometimes tough love is necessary. and boundaries are necessary. So there is a
Yeah.
difference between being in an abusive relationship that is not conducive to a
Yeah.
healthy family life.
Yeah.
Um,
That's good. It
so
goes back to the plug, then the electricity. Like, don't put your finger in the plug. Like, love is there, but you don't have to electrocute yourself.
right, yes.
We're having a field day with this, Claudia. Do you have any other analogies that we could that we could use? Um, Claudia, yes, the healthy boundaries and loving yourself first. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because when you love yourself, you're loving God, right? Because we are all part of that. So does anybody out there have any comments about this? Like, what are you hearing? What is pushing your buttons? What are you giving an amen to? Like, what are your reactions to this? What are your thoughts about love and God and unconditional love and divine love? There's so much to talk about here. Dale says, because sometimes the deepest self love, which is God, is walking away, saying, no, I am not turning on that switch. I love that, Dale. I'll put that right up there. What do you think about that, Carmen?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because, this is a good point, Dale. Love isn't just love for another person, it's love for yourself. And when you're loving yourself, like we said, you're also loving God because none of us are separate from that. And it goes back to what Carmen was saying. Love is a moment by moment choice, right?
And if we something I learned when I was learning Reiki was I cannot give what I do not have. So one of the things whenever we practice Reiki, the energy that we share is not our own personal energy. Like more than once I had people tell me, "Oh my God, you must be so tired now." No. Oh my God, I must have used up all your energy. Nope. Because we were never using our own personal energy. We were using, as Reiki practitioners, were conduits of the energy of the divine, which is the omnipresence that we were talking about earlier. So
Mhm.
something I learned from my teacher was like, we cannot give what we do not have. So the first thing we did before any treatment was to center ourselves, to clear the space in the room we were going to be in. Not only that, we had to clear, not only prepare the physical space, but the energetic space and ourselves. We had to clear our minds, we had to clear our hearts to be that
Mhm.
channel for that person. And so sometimes the people that were the most challenging to give a treatment to were the people that were closest to me if I had an opinion, right? I had to keep my opinion of what the healing would be, how the healing would be, any kind of, that would be the only thing that would stick me. That would be the only thing that would draw on my energy. If at any time I tried to use my will, that would stick me. But the
Mhm.
moment I was like centered and just allowing the energy to flow through, to be the higher self of the person I was working with, to be the one to guide the energy, then it will be done. And so self-care is the same thing. If I don't love myself, how can I love you if I don't love myself? And so I think oftentimes when we want a specific kind of love from a specific person who cannot give it to us or is not willing to give it to us, is because we are not giving that kind of love that we want so much to ourselves. So we have to um Dane here says, how can somebody want to have sex with you if you do not want to have sex with yourself? And it's kind of crude, but it's kind of true. So it's like, how can, if you are not putting cream on your body, if you're not taking care of your body, then how, if you're not, touching yourself, putting the cream on, how is somebody else going to want to touch you? So it's just like little things. So how are you being abusive, and or how are you having things, thoughts that you're not feeling worthy, that you're not worthy enough? And then whenever we're feeling that we're not worthy, that we're not enough, then we're attracting the kind of people that are going to emphasize or prove that we're right, because we always prove ourselves right. So it starts with us walking away from those situations and changing the way we think about ourselves. And if it takes getting help, looking for help to be able to help our self-esteem go up, then that's what it takes to do it, to help ourselves.
Mm.
Because the third unity principle is, read it for us, Jason. The third unity principle: thoughts held in mind.
It's we are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. I mean, you were paraphrasing it, yes.
So 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 what we're thinking is what we are co-creating around us. And so if
Hmm.
we are thinking that God's love is fits in a cup of tea, then that's the amount of love that we're going to allow into our lives. But it doesn't mean that 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 this is all the love of God that there is. It's
Hmm.
so it takes us opening our minds to the idea that love is all around us, including in the oxygen that we're breathing right now. Whether we're outside breathing some fresh air, or whether we're inside with the air conditioner on, or we just have the windows up open, or whichever way we're in, that oxygen that we're breathing is God's love too.
Hmm. Yeah, it's all around us. I mean, look at the abundance that we live in. Um, it's infinite, really. Um, God, there's so much I want to say about this subject. But I also don't want to bogart the whole time because I know we have people here. Claudia, brilliant. Thank you. That was all Carmen. I love that Carmen keeps it real, talking about who's going to want to have sex with us if we don't want to have sex with ourselves. I love that. We keep it real here at Tea Time. Right, Carmen?
Yes.
I'm gonna I'm going to read some information from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. Who here knows what that is? Put it in the chat. Do you know about the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary? It's probably thicker than the actual dictionary. I mean, it's like, I mean, thicker than the Bible. It's like that. But I decided this morning to look up what it defines love as. So we're going to break this down and chime in, Carmen, when you have some thoughts. So it says love is a divine attribute. It is an idea in the one mind. God is love and love is God on a quality in being. The difference between divine love and human love is that divine love is broad and unlimited, a universal harmonizing power. Human love is based on personality and is selfish, lawless, and fickle. That's just a part of it. What do you think about that, Carmen?
I'm not fickle.
I love out of
Um,
all that, that's the one thing you took. Okay.
um, yeah. I mean, that's what we have been talking about. And I think in a real relationship, we will have a mixture of both, right? We'll have
Mhm.
that mixture of our humanity, of um, whatever. Why didn't you? Why did you not cover the toothpaste? And then you're sick and you look ugly and messed up, and I still love you and I still want to kiss you and I want to hug you and I want to comfort you. That is
Mhm.
unconditional love, right? Like somebody who were sick and is still taking care of us, and who um our hair is like standing up in the morning and we're a
Mhm.
mess, and they're still loving us, and they can still see the beauty in us even when we don't see it in ourselves. That is love.
Yeah.
That is love. Even
I remember there being a news story about a young man who killed another young boy in a drunk driving accident.
mm,
And it made the news not because of that, but when the mother of the boy that was killed came in contact with the kid who killed him, she actually gave him a hug and said, "You know, I forgive you, um, and I'm not going to harbor any hatred towards you." And that's what comes to mind when we talk about, I know that's such a radical way of living, but that's what comes to mind when I think about unconditional love. It's like, I don't care what you look like. I don't care where you come from. I don't care what mistakes you've made in your life. Like, I'm not cutting off that love that's coming through me from God. Like, that's a really tough place to get to.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's radical forgiveness. That's radical
yeah.
forgiveness right there. And from a parent's perspective, it's so challenging, and it makes
Mm,
me think we have brothers and sisters that go into the jail system and pray with the people that are in jail, and that's practicing unconditional love. That's offering people the awareness that God is love and God is loving of them, regardless of what they may have done, uh, regardless of what they may have done, or not done. For those of them that are there that are innocent,
mhm,
but that God still loves them, and that there is still like a way um, out,
mhm.
um, even from within. So that takes like a degree of love and compassion. And
I'm going to bust out a Bible verse here, Proverbs 10:12. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers over all wrongs. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So, shall we read into more of the metaphysical dictionary? There's so much there about love. Shall we take the next section?
go.
Um, I'm just looking through the comments. Y'all are very quiet today. Is Reverend Chris still watching? We're going to call out Reverend Chris now. Reverend Chris, are you paying attention? If you are, put something in the comments.
Last time,
Uh,
I know in our last tea time he was driving and listening to us. I was like, "Hey, you didn't come," and he was like, "I was driving." And
well,
Roslyn was the same way. She had been driving too last time. So
all right. The next part of the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it says this about love. In reality, there is only one love. When man expresses divine love, man or woman, in limited ways, he makes a separation in consciousness, and his expression of love is personal instead of universal. Divine love will establish one in fearlessness and courage. For God gave us not a spirit of fearfulness, but of power and love and discipline. Thoughts?
I think that kind of goes to the first quote that we started with from Emily Cady in Lessons in Truth, of of everything that we have within us. And so I think that spirit of love and joy within us is that it's just part of who we are. Um, when I arrived to we had our the prayer chaplains meet on the first Thursday of the
Mhm.
month. By the way, we have the prayer chaplain training coming soon.
Shameless
Information
plug.
information tomorrow, Sunday. So when I arrived, I had just found out. Literally, I left work at 5 o'clock, and literally before I logged off, I got an email from my director telling me that one of the supervisors I had worked with had passed away that morning. And so after I sat and I breezed through it, the next thing I did was I called one of my supervisors, and his answer on the phone, the way he answered the phone was, "Yes, it's true." Like he knew what I was calling him for. And so undeniably I was sad and I was shocked. And as I was driving, I had to put gasoline. And I stopped at the Costco, and there's a guy there that flirts with me, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And I saw him, and he flirted, and it made me smile. And so I was able, in the midst of the sorrow, I was able to feel joy. And then I came here to do the Zoom meeting with the prayer chaplains, and I'm here in the Unity in the Bay office right now, and so Reverend Juan was here. And so as I'm going in, getting ready for the meeting setting up, Reverend Juan says, "Hey, I saw your Facebook comment," and I replied to it. And he was like, I was like, okay. So I looked and he had put, I had signed up. Good morning, Anna. I had signed up for the Pelican Run, which is, that's another plug but that's for Pelican Harbor for Christopher Scott Boykin. And so he said, let's do a Unity group. So those of you that want to do a 5K, we're going to have a group of us from Unity, different levels, different capacities in May 14th, I believe it is. 5K run on the beach. And that made me smile. So that joy, even as we're going through challenges, through sorrow, through pain, through uncertainty, that joy is always available to us, it's always within us. And so it's a little bit of a dance, a little bit of like what you were saying of the ups and the downs. It's just give ourselves permission, because sometimes we feel like, oh my God, no, I should be like sad the whole time. And, this person died or this happened. I should not allow myself. No, just allow yourself to feel the joy, allow yourself to be loved, allow yourself to be in the moment, because all that joy, all that wisdom, all that divine clarity is within each one of us. So we can always ask for, God, show me the way. What is my next step to take? Show me what is my next step to take. Like, take it one step at a time. How can I love myself more? How can I be more unconditionally loving towards myself, so I can be more unconditionally loving towards others? How can I? What one step can I take now to raise my consciousness, to raise my vibration, to raise my love?
Yeah, as you know, as this conversation has progressed, like my definition of love has shifted really, from it's expanded. Like now my definition is love is like free will. So now like I'm seeing God's love as like, here's life and I love you so much that you can do whatever you want with it. Like imagine being that kind of parent where you love your kids so deeply that you want to give them the power to make their own choices. They come with consequences, of course, but I mean, who likes to be controlled? Like, show me one human that likes to be controlled. None of us do. Don't tell me what to do. Um, of course, there's boundaries that God has set up. Like, it's hard to defy gravity. I mean, we've done it, but it's a law of the universe, right? I'm going to read more of the Metaphysical Dictionary, but we also are going to have to wrap this up soon. So my comment to all of our watchers is, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, triggers, like get them out now, because we want to answer them while we're live. So the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary goes on to say this about love: by establishing ourselves in the consciousness of divine love and expressing that love at all times, we are helping to fulfill the command: love your enemies, do good to them that hate you, bless them that curse you, pray for them that desperately use you. The development of divine love has its place in demonstrating supply. I'll read that again. I think that's important. The development of divine love has its place in demonstrating supply. When love is established in the consciousness, it will draw to us all that we require to make us happy and contented, all that really belongs to us. So what I'm getting from that is, like, when we establish that consciousness of divine love, when we shift our idea of love and what love is, we're drawing to us all that is required to make us happy and content. Well, that's simple. All right. So,
and all in 45 minutes.
All you have to do is establish love in the consciousness. That's it. Piece of cake. Weekend workshop.
Weekend workshop. 45 minutes of tea time and that's it.
Mhm.
We got it. The Emily Cady, she has another book called How I Use Truth. And she was talking, I was reading this morning, um, one of her lessons, the last lesson in that book is about what is truth and holding on to that truth that God is good all the time. And she says anything that is not good is not real. And I think
Mhm.
that is so challenging to hold on to when we're in the midst of a challenge, when we're in the midst of like of violence, unjustified
Mhm.
violence, but just violence, period. Um, and of watching the news, which I try not to watch, and um, looking around the world, and it's just this whole idea that is talk about a workout, talk about like an exercise, constant exercise in choice, in seeing God and seeing, this is not God. Like this act of violence is not God. This is something that
Mhm.
is not permanent, is something that is not eternal. Like God and who we are, the truth of our nature and our beings is eternal. And at the same time, we're in these bodies that are temporary. And so anything that's temporary is not real. And just from that perspective, but that's like a huge perspective to grab on and gravitate. And um
Mhm. It's
we could do
practice. It
10
takes
times
practice.
we could do 10 tea times about that. um
Well, the good Reverend Sandra Tagle has joined the conversation here.
she's a reverend now.
Let's see what she says. We're going to put that up here. Does it fit? She says, "Good morning. How human will feel or act without any God. But yes, it is love. What happens if we start talking about love without the word God in the middle?"
Hmm.
Well, that's all the time we have today for tea time. Carmen, I'll let you take that one on.
Well, I think if we go to that space that we were talking about earlier about God being love itself, just God being principle,
Mhm.
not just God being loving, just God being love, then yes, because we're talking about love and love equals God, and then, so we don't need to mention the word God. We were talking about love being an act the molecules of oxygen, allowing us to breathe them and to be
Mhm.
used, right? Like that will go right along that quote from Alan Watts: the oxygen molecules allow us to use them. The palm trees give us, and I'm talking about palm trees because I'm surrounded to my right and to my left with palm trees, and I always connect to their energy. They're
Mhm.
providing oxygen for us to breathe, and without expecting anything in return. And so,
Mhm.
um, no apologies, Sandra. No apologies necessary. We love you. Thank you for being here. Yeah,
Yeah.
so to me, we don't need to somebody who does not connect to the word God, or somebody who that's actually a really good point. To somebody who has this negative definition of God, we can definitely connect with that person on the level of love.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that in order for humans to comprehend much of life, we often personify certain qualities. And so I do believe that love is God, but we had to give it a name, right, to personify it. So it was like, okay, there's this man sitting up there on a throne that is doing this thing called love. But I think Sandra points to something important. It's like love existed before God did. We just gave it sort of this name so we could manage it in our humanity.
Right, a
Because,
tag, like a
yeah,
tag that we can pick up and talk about.
yeah, it's just what does the Tao say? It's just the finger that's pointing at the moon. But God isn't actual. Yeah, it's just God is just the finger pointing at love. Oh God, write that down. Quote me on that one, okay? But thank you, Sandra. That was great. I love things that provoke more and more questions. Um, Sandra, ha ha ha. Do we have anything to say before we wrap this up, Carmen? Any last words?
I just want to just ask us all to just like breathe out and to allow ourselves to imagine, to feel, to sense, to know the love of God that surrounds us, the all the angels around us protecting us, all the wisdom that is available to us because that is what we are. And so we are wise, we are loved, and so we call forth that divine understanding that we are. We call forth that divine clarity that we are. We call forth the divine strength, the divine vision to listen to our hearts, to have the courage to take that next step and the next step after that in our continuous growth, in our continuous expansion. That strength to be who we are, even if it doesn't fit in exactly with our surroundings. And so we are, and so we allow it to be, and so we choose it to be. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Carmen. If anybody watching loved that, there is prayer chaplain training coming up. I'll do the shameless plug now. Um, Tomorrow, actually, there's you and a couple other prayer chaplains are going to be on the platform for our talk tomorrow morning.
Aaron and I.
Uh, yeah, Aaron and you. So check it out and find out about prayer chaplaincy training. You know, it's going to talk about practicing love in your life. That's a perfect way, right?
Yes. It's a it's an easy way to practice love in our lives. Yeah, to pray for each other, to pray with
Yeah.
each other.
Well, thank you all for joining us. This was great talk. And be on the lookout for our next tea time. We haven't decided the topic, but it'll most likely be in March. So keep a lookout.
For all of you watching now and for all of you watching later, we love you. We recognize the oneness among us and take care of yourselves.
Ditto. Bye.